All right, so this is just for the sake of the recording, our group feedback after teaching out the advanced section. Well done, everyone. How are you all feeling? Good. All right, let me put this up here. And then I want to hear for just a moment from all of you. Um, how do you all feel that went?
Great too.
Good? Feeling good?
Yeah.
Just all right?
Oh, well.
Anyone have any specific things they would like to share? Either about what you experienced from being taught or as the teacher? Yeah.
So I loved Anna's class and we talked about it, how an advanced vinyasa class doesn't have to be fast. Like we can build what is actually more challenging is building strength through holding the pauses, the
Mhm.
poses and pausing.
Mm,
Especially in today's society, I feel like we are pretty stimulated, right, with everything that we have to do and there's so many things that are going on. So I feel like in yoga, which is the union of the body and the mind,
mhm,
as we all know, um, for myself, where I find that union is when I slow down, when I'm not like
mhm.
stimulated and
Yeah.
rushing from one pose to the next. It's when I slow down, sink into the pose, however challenging or not challenging it may be to my muscles.
Mhm,
And that's where I can tune into my breath, feel how that pose feels in my body. And it is challenging for both my mind, right, and my body,
mhm.
because generally I am stimulated throughout the day. So for me, it truly, personally for me, a truly advanced yoga practice is potentially a little slower,
Mhm.
holding and focusing in.
Yeah,
So
thank you. And yeah, that's a really great point. And I think there is so much value in having that time to sit with the poses and explore them a little bit more.
mhm,
And yeah, there is definitely a dominant paradigm in a lot of other places where it says if it's advanced, it's got to be either faster or like way harder. And it's advanced does tend to be more about the mindset that you're approaching it with versus just exactly what you're doing. So yeah, thank you. Anyone else have anything they wanted to share or call out?
Loved Tisa's sang so did amazing. I felt really well cared for. She could tell like if I was struggling, if I needed to breathe, if I needed to go to child's pose, she would cue it. Like she was just very intuitive on what I needed, and that was just fantastic. So, of course.
Awesome.
Lacey did excellent as well. And I told her it was, she was stuck because she forgot balance, but she went like this. Oops, I forgot balance, and then just immediately threw in balance right there. Like, she just on the spot, he just knew we were already down the mat. She knew what to do. It wasn't like an overthinking. It wasn't like a beating yourself up. Oh, forgot balance. Okay, here we are. We're gonna do this instead. It was great.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Boy, it really threw me off.
Yeah. It's okay, it happened. But
It sounds like you were
yeah, your recovery was great.
Yeah.
And that's what matters more.
Yeah, we had a great experience with each other and, I will say this, it's awesome to teach one person, right? Because you can focus on their energy and where they're at and it does, it just becomes a whole different experience. I'm sure you guys had that with each other. But yeah, Sierra, you know, she's got a gift when she's teaching, right? She shows up so authentically and, yeah, I'm lucky to partner with her.
Oh,
I was very good at listening. Um, I tweaked my shoulder forever ago, and then it started playing up today, and she was able to adjust just like that, like shift the practice to where I could actually attain the posture she was listening off. So
awesome. Well, I want to say, let me flip this back around. First off, well done. I know for many of you, this might have been the first time that you've ever taught a quote unquote advanced yoga practice to someone. And so that can be really intimidating. And I'm really proud of all of you for showing up and doing it. And not only that, but doing it with so much attentiveness and care and compassion for one another. Above anything else, that's what I saw so much of today that I really appreciated was that all of you were really tuned in to whether you were the student or the teacher, you were really connected to one another and paying attention. And especially those when you were in the role of teacher, you really took the responsibility of caring for the people that you were teaching. And I'm so appreciative of that. And I'm really proud of all of you for that. So well done there. There are a lot of really great things to happen today. There are also a couple of things that Ryan and I both just want to bring up just as ways to help you continue to grow and maybe know what some steps forward are. So we'll kind of just run through a few of these things and then we'll get you all off to lunch. Sound good? Cool. Ryan, do you want to go ahead and share some of
Yeah,
your
so I
thoughts?
mean, I think we talked about this a little bit even last month with like the beginner, and we talked about like demoing and stuff. And so again, I'm just going to encourage everybody to remember that, you know, generally speaking, if we're demoing next to, especially like just one other person, like we're usually doing that because we're trying to remember cues. We're trying to work through it in that time through our own body so that we can then explain it to other people. And so I'm just encouraging you with your own practice to practice enough so that you don't have to practice next to your students to say the thing, right? Because that was the other thing that I noticed is like I'm watching people do the demoing when adjustments can be happening, right? And so then I basically watched a couple of people where it was like I watched you adjust yourself while you were about to like adjust somebody else. And so it's like you know what to do. You know how to do it. And so it's there, it's in the body. We just need to get it like really planted in the mind so that we can verbally cue rather than demonstrate physically so that we have the opportunity to adjust more, to cue more directly, and to not have to do that for our own bodies. You know, like if we're going to be moving, we want to be moving mindfully and not while we're teaching and stuff like that. So just really practice for yourself so that you can cue well for your students, so you don't have to demo or feel like you need to do the posture to do it. Yeah, does that make sense? Cool. But yeah, that was basically like the biggest thing that I noticed that I wanted to share.
Yeah, thank you. And I think just to piggyback on that point is one thing for me especially that can help with that is if you've established that practice for yourself already, which I think all of you have been practicing long enough that you have, then the next step is maybe taking some time to visualize yourself in the pose and then get into the habit of being able to just imagine yourself in the pose and use that as your framework for giving cues. Versus thinking you have to just be like, oh, I have to have, cues memorized for this pose. No, you can still find those based on your own experience. But in general, if the inspiration can come from you visualizing yourself in the pose versus you having to actually physically be in it, I think, as Ryan was saying, it leaves so much more room for you to be able to adjust, to be able to give more attention to your students and yeah, just to be more present with them versus you being present strictly with yourself, just to be able to communicate those feelings to them. Yeah. Couple of other things I wanted to bring up. I saw some really wonderful adjusting today. I think I saw from all of you at least once just really competent and confident adjustments where you came in, you entered the space well, you performed the adjustment well, you held it for a good amount of time, and then you were able to exit well, gracefully as well, so that it wasn't um, causing any challenges for your student. That said, I also saw still a lot of corrective flyby sorts of adjustments where it was like the little tweaks here and there, and those can be okay, but especially if you're going to put yourself in the classroom where you have students who you don't know, many of whom could potentially be beginners or early on in their practice, if all that they get from you are those like little tweaks that can feel a little bit more in the realm of like critical or critique from the teacher versus it being from a space of you just wanting to come in and help enhance their experience. And so just making sure, even if you are coming in to do like a quick adjustment of like, let's adjust this here, like whatever it is, do that and then try to stay at least a few moments with them still. Don't just like, okay, now I'm going to walk away. Because that presence, that's what helps it move from the space of being critical to you just being present with them and helping guide them through the practice. Does that make sense? Awesome. I heard at different points, no one did this all the way through, but I think I heard from many of you during certain sections words along the lines of, and now we're going to, and now we're going to. So just watching those words, because those aren't necessarily valuable or necessary in that context. And so where you notice yourself starting to say them, if you can try to cut them out, it'll just allow you to use less language and still communicate full value to your students. And then, all right, I have two kind of broader categories that I have a couple points inside of that and these will be like the last things that we chat through. This is still, I'll stick with the first one, which is still in the realm of adjustments. And so again, what is our number one thing when we're thinking about adjustments? Yes. And I saw a lot of really great examples of safe adjustments today. Like I saw a lot of you making sure that you were in a position where you were safe to come in, you were really grounded and stable, and the way that you were interacting with people was safe for both of you. But I also saw some that were a little bit more, I wouldn't necessarily say that they were specifically unsafe. Like I didn't see you doing anything that was likely to cause harm to anyone. However, I saw things that had a complication arisen, someone lost their balance, something happened, you may have been more exposed and potentially been more exposed to harm than you could have been if you had found a more stable position. So I'm going to give a few examples, and this is not to call anyone out for criticality. This is just for the sake of like knowing specific points to look for. So at one point, Peg, I saw you coming in for an adjustment on a side plank, and you were like squatted down on your toes and hands underneath. And yeah, and I think I saw on your face as soon as you went into it, I could tell because your hands were like,
Yeah.
yeah.
And then the next time I did it.
And you did a different one. Yeah. And what you chose the next time was wonderful. So yeah, just making sure that should be a red flag to you if there's any point where you're like,
What am I doing?
well, that, or like you find yourself kneeling on toes or things like that. If you are on your toes and you are physically helping support anything, no, you're not grounded, you're not stable. Okay, if you're coming in to like just do a very light energetic adjust where you're not supporting anything, this might be fine. If you are doing anything where you're grounding and supporting someone, make sure feet are grounded or you're on your knees or you're in a lunge, something where you are more stable. And then I saw, I don't remember specifically when I saw a tree pose adjustment where the adjuster came up from behind, did a quick adjustment, and then stepped back. And for balancing postures, especially for tree pose, something like that, I would say number one, don't step away. Like if you step in to help someone in a balancing posture, you walking away puts them at more risk for losing their balance. So biggest thing is don't step away. And number two is especially don't step away if you've stepped in behind them. It's one thing, like as a different pose, for instance, if we're doing dancer pose, I could come up in front of someone, put my hand up against their hand, and then if I'm feeling like, okay, I want them to have the experience of doing this balance for themselves, I can start to very slowly walk away, but they can see me. Now they have the visual cue and they know what I'm about to do. If you're behind them, they have no visible cue about what's going to happen. And so if you're coming in for any sort of balance pose where you're adjusting them from behind, stay with them. Because yeah, otherwise it's just the risk of them getting destabilized or becoming more uncertain is a lot higher if you're doing that. That will make sense. Cool. And then the last one that I wanted to talk about, and this is probably not one you'll have to do often, but I just want to bring it up because it is one of the bigger safety ones. So Sierra, with like headstand, anytime you're teaching headstand, you do not want anyone jumping into headstand. That's a risky, that is the most risky part of the entire pose is entering into it. And if you're jumping into it, the risk level goes up exponentially. Just because the neck is in such a compromised position, it's not fully locked into that vertical space yet. And the likelihood that if you fell or something that you would twist your neck and cause significant harm is pretty high there. So if they have to jump to get into it, then it's okay. Don't do that. Like, just don't practice it. And then the adjustment so you were beside Peg, like, on her side.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
can kind of show you.
So like, if Ryan were coming into the pose, like you were here.
Mhm.
With this, you always want to be either here, or if someone is already into it, it's possible you could come up from behind and support from there. But like on the side, the reality is if they fall or do anything, you can't actually help them if you're here.
Yeah.
So yes, you can do things. It's a little easier to do things here because you have a lot more reach, but realistically, if they fall this way, there's not a lot you can do. And if they're falling this way, which is the more dangerous one, there's even less that you can do.
Right.
And so for that particular pose, a couple of ones that you can do is like, if they're starting to come up, and you don't have to, Ryan, but like, if you imagine, so Ryan's head is here, he's got his head.
Yeah, I'm like, I can do this.
Done it. Don't do it unless you're warm. So like, if he wants to start tucking his knees in, the thing you can start to work with is helping draw the legs in and help them support as they're coming into that and just feeling that engagement. And then if they do come up into the full headstand, then that's where you can explore maybe supporting the back or starting to stand up. And if someone is able to get in without jumping, then that's an easier one where you can approach from behind and like either help guide from the feet, excuse me, or just be back here to help kind of provide that assurance that they're not going to fall the other way.
Yeah.
But in general, if they're going to fall, we want them to fall that way.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that makes sense.
I'm not gonna lie, I was totally surprised when she got into a headstand. I was not ready. I was not ready.
That's okay. Well, if you're going to teach headstand, just make sure like in the future that you are, because yeah, we want people to be safe. And that one is a potentially very risky post just because, yeah, there's a lot going on in it and people don't always have that confidence in their body and they don't know they're going to sometimes try things that aren't super safe because they feel safer than they actually are. Not to say that you weren't being safe, Peg. I know that you've probably practiced that pose before in the past, but yeah, those,
Yeah, not in a while, I really want to do.
gotcha. So yeah,
Surprised too.
but you did it. Hey, so great job. All right, cool. And so then perfect, just enough time. The second area that I just wanted to briefly talk about was just thinking about time management and where things fall in terms of your sequence. So for several people, I saw core didn't happen until like 3/4 or later into the end of the practice, like a core series. And this is very nuanced because I even teach vinyasa classes where I don't teach a core section. We're just working on core throughout the practice, things like that. But for any pose, especially for balance pose, things like that, where you really are using your core to support and stabilize yourself, probably want to keep that earlier on just so that those muscles are warmed up and starting to get engaged, versus pushing it towards the end, because then it doesn't do as much help for people if they're in those poses that are actually going to require them to use their core. And then making sure too that, so what we were teaching today was vinyasa, and there are some important things that need to happen for it to kind of qualify as vinyasa. Part of that is like a warrior series, a warrior dance of sorts. And then another part of that is like the rhythm and the flow, and repetition too. So just making sure that like as you're thinking through your sequences, that there are opportunities for people to repeat movements and repeat sequences a couple of times. Not every sequence has to be repeated multiple times, but if each sequence that you do, if like you only go through it once, that loses some of the power of vinyasa, because the vinyasa repetition allows us to build both that heat and tapas, as well as it's part of that moving into that moving meditation space as well. All right, and then I feel like I had one more time management. Oh, yes. I know it was difficult today. Our timing was tricky as we were getting started a little bit late and figuring out where everything was going, but also just remembering that, you know, as a teacher, you are responsible for keeping track of time for yourself too. And so just trying to continue developing that awareness of like where you're at in the class and thinking about what you have planned in your sequence ahead, and being ready to be like, oh, we're actually really close to the end now. I'll just drop a couple of these things. We'll come down early. Or, oh, we actually have extra time. Sweet. Let me figure out where I can slide a few things in. Or actually, maybe I don't even need to add anything. Maybe I just need to let us extend out these last few pieces, and we don't have to go through them quite as fast as we've gone through the things beforehand. So, that being said, I think you all did really well overall at like pacing yourselves and finding a point that allowed you to get through everything, so it wasn't like you were entirely rushing through or delaying too much either. So these are all things that I don't want you to take as critical feedback saying you did this wrong, just as little bits that you can take forward and say, okay, maybe this time I try this and see how to do it just a little bit better next time. All right, how are we feeling? Good. Good. Well, I'm really proud of you all, and I'm sad because ordinarily I would try to join you for like next month's workshops, but I'm traveling. But I wish you all so much uh happiness, and I hope that you really get to enjoy the rest of um this training, because it's a really special time and you get to do it with one another and do it with this community you've built. So I'm really grateful to have been able to be a part of it with you.
Thank you.
So thank you all. And enjoy the rest of your weekend. I will give you back an extra 3 minutes for your lunchtime. So you'll be back at 1:30. Absolutely. Thank you all. Bye, Amber. I hope your back is feeling better soon.
Oh, thanks. Appreciate it. Thanks for coordinating and thanks for all your help.
Yeah, absolutely. All
Is it
right.
1:30 they're heading back?
Yes. Yep.
Okay, cool. Dope. All
Cool.
right.
See ya.
I've never done goodbyes.